So anyway, what I was saying was, well, obviously everybody knows how dope Pass the Mic is now. And I'm sure months ago, like maybe back in January, that's not what you were imagining for as far as your DJing. But what made you come up with the idea, like to do Pass the Mic?
Well, the light bulb went off in my head for Pass the Mic in late April or early May. I was FaceTiming with Verdine White of Earth, Wind and Fire, who's a dear friend of mine and a mentor of mine. And I see Verdine every now and then pre-pandemic. And, late April, early May, everyone was still very much in the heat of it. I certainly really hadn't left my house for any other reason but to take out the garbage. And while I was FaceTiming with him, the song That's the Way of the World came on my speakers. And that song normally gives me chills, hearing the Rhodes right at the beginning and seeing Verdine's face and feeling the world in flux and hearing that song just made me really appreciative that I had relationships with so many of my musical heroes. And right then and there, a light bulb went off in my mind, and I said to myself, maybe there's some way I could give this feeling to other people, the feeling of connecting with your heroes one-on-one. And then maybe in celebrating my musical heroes, I could in some way celebrate the heroes around the world fighting for our health. And then as the protests began around the world, I said, well, maybe it's celebrating the heroes that are fighting for health and for freedom. And those two ideas only, continue to build, of course, as the world continued to change. And right then and there, the idea came to me. And so I kind of put together a list of my favorite R&B classics of the 70s and 80s and tried to skew that list to artists whom I had relationships with, and one at a time I called them and told them this crazy idea, and the rest is history.
Got it. And speaking of with the world being in changing times, and I'm assuming outside will be open again at some point, but I was saying, any thoughts on possibly trying to facilitate something where you could take Pass the Mic on a road, like actually in a physical venue later?
I have not thought about it yet, but I guess sky's the limit. Certainly, Pass the Mic 1 and 2 for sure would be incredible to see live. And of course, if I ever did it, I would try to kind of keep the essence of what I did online, which was really not asking artists to put on a full show, but really to kind of interweave through a DJ set. And that could be a very interesting thing, but I think we're far from it. So right now I got my eyes focused in one direction.
Got it. And I'm assuming we got volume 1, volume 2. Are we going to get a volume 3, volume 4? And if so, what genre? Or is it going to be like a mix because you appreciate a lot of different music?
Well, I'm certainly going to start working on a volume 3.
Okay.
There's no need to leave that to mystery. Why wouldn't I? I've received such an emotional response. People have connected to these 2 videos in a way I could have never imagined. So I feel I simply have to. Genre-wise, category-wise, I don't want to say anything because, one thing that I've learned over the past, 6 weeks is the element of surprise is really everything. And, watching the chat room on Twitch during the live event, I feel the excitement. I feel people guessing who's coming next. It's almost like you buy a ticket to go to a concert at, say, Madison Square Garden, and you know your favorite acts are going to be there, but you have no idea who.
Right,
That's
right,
exciting. That's interesting, and that's never been done. It's like a secret Santa. It's like a grab bag. You're going to get something amazing, but you have no idea what.
right.
So it's very important for me to keep the element of surprise. Even before Volume 2, I did a few interviews, and the press was saying, "Oh, give us a few names." Now, a few names did get out. It wasn't me that put the names out, but I was cool with that. 3, 4 names out of 35 to get people excited is cool. But I'm not giving away the names because if I was on the other side, to me, the surprise would be everything. And now that people know what they can expect, I'd hope that people expect that they know they're going to see their favorite artists of all time singing their favorite records of all time, but having no idea who it's going to be. And that's an exciting thing.
I must admit that's one of the dopest parts about the whole Pass the Mic, man. I mean, even on the last one, I saw like Rakim, Kid and Play. Oh my God, you even had from Lords of the Underground, one of my favorite records of all time. Like it was just. I was just like, wow, you are really putting together like a dope list of artists. And that kind of actually leads into my question. How important has it been for you to even build relationships in the industry for you to be able to do something like that? Can you just speak about the importance of relationship building?
There's really not much anything else that matters, to be honest with you. When I look back at my DJ career, there's so many things that contributed to putting me where I am. There's managers, there's encounters of luck when the stars just aligned.
Mm-hmm.
There's a handful of celebrities that took me under their wing and flew me around the world and gave me their cosign. There's a series of events. But the one overarching thing I can say, beyond the chance encounters, beyond the celebrities, beyond the stars aligning, the one thing I can say that almost supersedes all those is relationships. Pass the Mic 1 and 2, particularly 2, but both, but particularly 2, is really a culmination of 29 years of my life that has revolved around DJing and hip-hop culture. Even my love of classic R&B music came from hip-hop. Relationships are everything. Building trust with people whom you work with, whom you admire, whom you respect. In this case, whom I idolize. These artists in both volumes are really my heroes. I know I use that word a lot, and it's a word you hear constantly through the videos and in the pre-show and in my interviews, but it really is the truth. The whole foundation, the whole premise of the concept is to celebrate my heroes and pay homage to heroes. And Pass the Mic as a thing could not exist without relationships. On Volume 1, when I'm calling Verdine White, Philip Bailey, Bobby Brown, Ricky Bell, Ray Parker Jr., Denise Williams, Patrice Rushen, I had nothing to show for this idea. There was no Volume .5.
Right.
So really, it was a crazy idea. Hey, Cheryl Lynn, I have this idea. I'm going to sit at my turntables in my living room. I'm going to have like a mix. Like I'm going to do a mix, like a DJ with a 30-minute, like a 30-minute mix. I'm going to drop your record. I'm going to talk to you. And then you're going to sing along to a verse and a chorus. And when the chorus is over, I'm going to drop another record and the next person's going to come on. Sounds very easy and very complicated at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds very clear, but also confusing at the same time. And when you have nothing to show for it, it's a lot to ask. And I can say from experience, I was not tech savvy when it came to any of this pre-pandemic. I had never used Zoom. I had never heard of Twitch. So I can only imagine that other artists are the same. And so I knew, it was a small ask in terms of time involved, but it was a big ask in terms of trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so only because I had relationships with those artists do I feel that they took a leap of faith and they gave me their trust to sing along to a record and say, here, take the video, it's your video, and do what you want, and don't even show me something before you put it out. That's a lot of trust. I was really honored that they gave me that trust. Volume 2, many of the artists had seen Volume 1.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to trusting me, they also had a video as an example to exemplify the concept, but still, a lot of trust to rap along to your iconic song and not see what I'm doing with it. Not like a music video where they get to see the edits,
Right.
So I really, really thank the 50 plus artists that have taken part so far for entrusting me.
Absolutely. And speaking on the technical side, two-part question. Well, the first question is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in Volume 1, you had Ray Parker Jr., and then right after that, I believe you had Ricky Bell do Mr. Telephone Man. Now, Ray Parker Jr. wrote Mr. Telephone Man. Was it purposely designed that you put it like back-to-back like that? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was the order.
Yes, it was, and he did right. It was very much on purpose. The sequence of the songs, in many cases, in both volumes, had multiple reasons of why the songs were in that order. Ray wrote the record, but if he wrote the record and the two records sounded completely different and were two totally different tempos, they would not have gone together.
Right.
He happened to have written the records while he was in the same zone, around the same time, using the same sounds, the same keyboard, the same instruments, and the songs sound very, very similar. So the fact that the songs are two peas in a pod, and then he wrote them, it worked perfectly. In Volume 2, most of the songs are in a loose chronological order. That was on purpose. Yet, there are exceptions made because the songs have to go together musically.
Right, of course. And
also the tempos dictate. So, there's always more than one reason. But yes, that was very, very perceptive of you. I'm impressed.
Well, I love music, man. So, I'm like you in a sense because I believe, I've followed your career. You're a person that will go to the record store and read the back of the albums and all. That's me. I always wanted to know who wrote it, who produced it, who played this, who did this. That's how I discovered who Rod Temperton was. Who did all who he is, who did all the stuff for Michael Jackson. Just looking at album covers and things of that nature. But back to my technical question, also. Obviously tempo plays a thing, all of that plays a thing, but you also said the technology part, maybe they don't understand Zoom. So when you're doing it, do you have to have an individual Zoom with that one person and then you go back and splice it together? Or is it literally all done in the same day type of concept where you're just going back to back to back?
I don't do them all in one day.
Okay.
I do them as close to each other as I can, for my own momentum. But it would be nearly impossible to have done 36 individuals in one afternoon.
Absolutely. And now since you've got 2 out and the popularity is crazy about it, is your phone starting to blow up with other artists wanting to do it? Saying oh man, are you doing another one? Can I be a part of it? That type of thing?
I'll be honest, I've received a few texts, but it's actually more natural than that. I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the members of SWV talking to each other on someone else's post about Pass the Mic. So it was the craziest thing. You have literally the members of SWV being yo, did you see this? And Coco's oh my God, I saw that yesterday. And then Taj is I'm jealous, I want to be down. And Coco's me too, I was thinking the same thing. And so they're literally talking to each other about how they would like to be a part of one. Teddy Riley posted the whole video of Volume 1 and said, Cass, next time call me. And the list goes on. So I'm seeing it more on social media than direct to me, but artists who, of course, I would love to include in the future are talking to each other about how much they'd love to be involved. To me, that's crazy. I just want to say, there's nothing normal about anything I've said. There's nothing normal about being on FaceTime with Verdine White of Earth, Wind & Fire. I don't think that's normal, and it will never feel normal no matter how many times I do it. There's nothing normal about 35 of the greatest hip-hop icons of all time taking my call, Zooming with me, and enjoying the video and then posting it and talking about it. There's nothing normal about any of this.
Absolutely.
And I say that often, I say it's very important to me, but I don't do it on purpose, but it is important to me to keep your heroes on the pedestal that they are, and I don't keep them there even deliberately. They're ingrained on that pedestal to me. I couldn't knock them off the pedestal if I tried. That's how I look at them, like this.
And speaking of your heroes and people who you idolize, people who you grew up on, music who you highlight, you've been in a lot of crazy rooms in your life as far as, as where your career is taking you, from DJing for the Obamas, Oprah, all these people, Democratic conventions, Jay and Beyonce. Have you ever literally, while you're DJing, just took a moment to sit back and think like, damn, I can't even believe I'm here right now. Like, I'm surrounded by people who do this iconic music and they're paying me to do this. Like, you ever have a moment like that where you just kind of stop and reflect, or are you so ingrained in just rocking the party that you don't even think about that?
I think about it every time. And I think about it most right before I go on stage. Once I'm on, I'm in a zone. And then it hits me again after. The first time I DJ'd at the White House, and I DJ'd at the White House over a dozen times when Obama was president. Both inauguration parties at the White House, Obama's 50th birthday, Michelle Obama's 50th birthday, shared a stage in the White House with Beyonce, Stevie Wonder, Prince, and many others. I believe it was the first time at the White House I was standing in the Red Room, the famous Red Room. So if you're looking at the White House, there's like 6 windows. The last window on the left is the room the parties were. So you can envision it. And when you walk in the center of the White House through the main door, there's the famous rooms: Red Room, Blue Room, Yellow Room, Green Room, I believe, 4 in a row. And the Red Room is the last one on the left. Eleanor Roosevelt, I think, first created these rooms. So I'm looking out the back window, which looks towards the Washington Monument and the Capitol building. And I call my grandmother. My grandmother's now 93. So maybe in 2011, which was his 50th birthday, she was 84. And, she survived the Holocaust, came here from Europe in 1945. She went through some serious shit. And I'm extremely close with my grandmother. And so I called her, not my mom, not my dad, although I'm close with them all, but I called my grandmother and I said, Mom, I'm about to go on stage at the White House. I started crying. It was really emotional. And I just wanted to connect with her as the oldest person in the family so she could feel that moment in case she never had a chance to come with me, and she didn't, but I brought my mother to one party, the last party. But that moment exemplifies many moments I had. I had that moment at Jay-Z and Beyonce's wedding. I had that moment in South Africa with Oprah, when she opened up her school and threw a party for New Year's Eve for Nelson Mandela, Quincy Jones, Sidney Poitier, Cicely Tyson, Tina Turner, Ashford and Simpson, Quincy Jones, Mary, Tyler Perry. I had that moment. So, that never gets normal for me. DJing for, the word celebrity doesn't apply. DJing for cultural and world leaders. say. Because Jay-Z, Beyonce, Oprah, Puffy, the Obamas, they're cultural leaders, they're world leaders. That never gets old, and I never become numb to that feeling. And it hits me right before I go on, and hits me after when I go to bed. When I walk on stage, it's just showtime.
Understood, understood. And speaking of being around cultural world leaders, things of that nature, your DJing has also brought you heavily, and into not just the White House but the world of politics. You've DJed for like the Democratic National Convention. You've also posted a lot about certain social matters and voting rights and things of that nature. Do you feel, as an artist yourself, DJ, producer, fashion icon, that using those platforms is important to get messages out there to the world, in the sense of being, an activist of sorts, just to say, hey, this is what I believe in? Do you think do you feel like a certain obligation to do that?
I think it's every artist's obligation, and everyone that has a platform and people watching, I think, have an obligation. But I don't even do it because I feel I have an obligation. I do it just because I feel I have to. I have to speak my mind in the same way that I have to, drink water and sleep. I can't filter myself or contain myself. I do think if you have a platform and have people listening, you have a responsibility to speak the truth and to promote the greater good and to defend people who need your defense. And I feel strongly that we as a people, as humanity, need to defend others. More than one defends themselves. And so anyone that has a voice, I think, needs to protect the voiceless. Or those whose voice projects with lower volume, so to speak, metaphorically. And so I think everyone who has people watching needs to speak their truth. And those truths, might be truths that I don't believe to be true. But their truth. And I think everyone has a responsibility. But again, that's not why I speak my truth. I speak it because I have to. And right now, my truth is that our president needs to be removed from office.
Understood. Yes.
And, a lot of us have the saying, not my president. But technically, he is. And he cannot be. And we have a very short amount of time left to make this happen. What is it, 3 months now? We're in mid-August, September, October. Yeah, it's about 3 months, less. Less than 90 days. And I don't think this is about one piece of legislation or one law or one bill. This is about changing the spirit and the soul of our country. And I do believe that the soul of our country is not the myth that we pretend it is, and has been corrupted from day one. But I also believe that Trump has allowed the progressing soul of our country to simply deteriorate. He has corrupted the spirit of our country with hatred, with bigotry. He's done it from day one. He's made no bones about it. And we have, 2.5 months to make sure that he is never in a position of political power again. And I think this is so extremely important that everyone mobilizes to make sure that he does not have another day in the White House.
Absolutely. So do you think, Cassidy, that you talked about the soul of the country, and how Trump has helped to stop the progress that maybe we had going, but on the other end, speaking of the soul of the country, when I'm on IG Live, Twitch, or whatever, and I'm watching you or maybe a D Nice, and I'm seeing different people from all different backgrounds, nationalities, etc., like tune in, chime in, etc. Do you think that literally DJs have saved our life during this pandemic, and also the uprising around the country and the world, for that matter, in that sense of that's our connection point, like watching you guys do what you do?
I certainly think DJs haven't hurt. I think that music is the most uplifting, inspiring, uniting tool of humanity. And I think that DJs have done a tremendous job showcasing that tool and using that tool more than anyone. Mentioned D.A.R.F. He did a magical thing at the beginning of the quarantine when everyone was trying to figure out how to be creative, how to stay active, but most importantly, how to connect with people and how to unite those people. He figured something out in the most natural way, starting with just playing records and then DJing. And the number of people that came built from 100 to 500 to 1,000 to 100,000. And that first 7 days, he set the tone for that. So my hat's off to him.
Absolutely. I actually saw on your IG, I think it was a picture of D-Nice with you when you were with him when you were a kid. And to fast forward this many years later to see the position that you're in, the position that he's in, how does that make you feel? Like, like literally, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was a picture on your IG, right? When he's kind of like embracing you and somebody else?
So I was 10 years old in that picture, and I don't know the exact math. He might have been 21 or 22. I was just a fan at a Naughty by Nature show, and I caught him. I can't remember exactly where he was walking, but I was like, "It's D-Nice!" for a picture, and I showed him that many years later after we had built a friendship through our careers. And he was blown away by it, and I was blown away by it as well when I rediscovered that I had the photo. It's a surreal feeling, and I have pictures with a lot of my heroes from that day because I was a little hip-hop fan, and my parents, particularly my father, were very supportive of my love of music, and my dad was a music lover. He was more into rock and roll, but passion for music is passion for music, and he encouraged my involvement in music. My parents bought me turntables for my 10th birthday, and every hip hop show that I wanted to go to, my dad tried to bring me to, and any artist that I was able to catch, I took a picture with, and when I look back at some of those photos, it's a very surreal feeling, and I've had conversations with many of the artists in Pass the Mic Volume 2 throughout the past week, kind of reminding them, the first time I met them as a fan, as a little kid. And I'm still that fan. And I'm still that fan of everyone who was involved. And I say to D-Nice, and I tell him this every now and then, I say, I'm still your fan. Before I was DJ Cassidy, and before he was DJ D-Nice, he was D-Nice of the legendary Boogie Down Productions. And he was KRS-One's producer. And then he was D-Nice the rapper. They call me D-Nice. And then he was D-Nice of the Flavor Unit crew with Naughty and Latifah. And so I was a fan of D-Nice through all those phases of his life. And so most recently, he and I DJ'd together at Puffy's 50th birthday in November. And that was a great experience because it was, me and him rocking the whole party together. And the memory of that photo, I think, was in both of our minds.
Gotcha. Now, Cassidy, I'm gonna wrap this up soon, but what would you say? What's next for you? We know we got the Volume 3 coming out for Pass the Mic. Are you working on any new album projects? Anything in the fashion world? Again, because you're a multifaceted person. So, what would you like what would you like people to know about what's coming next for you?
I am working on new music. More of that soon. I am working on my clothing line, Resort 24/7. More of that soon. In the nearest future, I'm continuing Pass the Mic. I want to continue to give people the emotional roller coaster that they've been on while taking part and watching, and I've been blown away and really, really emotionally overwhelmed by the response. So you can look for more from Pass the Mic in the near future. And also in the near future, I'm going to be working heavily with the Biden campaign to ensure that Trump is out of here.
Understood. And this will actually be my last question. With the success of Pass the Mic and other online platforms like what D-Nice has done, or what Swiss Beats and Timberland have done with the Versus battle, whenever this is, even if it's a year from now, when outside opens up again, do you think you'll find yourself trying to be more creative online? Because you said prior to that you were not using Twitch, you didn't even know what it was, or things of that nature. So once the world opens back up, and I know you're busy, do you still see yourself possibly doing things online, given the success that you've had with this platform?
It's a very interesting question. So here's my answer. I don't actually think things are going to go back to normal. I don't think they're going to stay the way they are now, but I think they're not going back to January 2020.
Right.
I personally don't envision that. I would love that. It would be a welcome surprise, but I don't see it. So I do think I'll be DJing in front of large crowds again soon at some point. I think it will be in a different way, in a different frequency, in a different level of safety. And I do think that I'm going to be more active online, and I do think my mind has opened up creatively, and I think most artists have. I don't want to speak for them, but I think we've all become, I don't want to say more creative, but have become more creative in different ways. And are embracing social media in different ways, embracing technology in different ways, and realizing that you don't need thousands of people in front of you to do what you do. And I think that will continue indefinitely.
Absolutely, man. Well, I just appreciate your time today, sir. Thank you for Pass the Mic and everything you've done for hip hop culture and culture in general over the years, man. And if you ever need anything from us, you can have somebody reach out. We'll promote whatever you're doing.
Thank you so much. Likewise, I really appreciate the support.
Oh, my pleasure, man. You take care and you have a blessed day, okay?
Thank you so much. You too.
All right. Salute.